Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the method of teaching Nigerian languages, EDU728, lesson 1. Language is very essential for human existence. God endowed man with the ability to make use of language. Out of all things that God created, it is only human being that God endowed with the ability to speak. So language is very, very important for social relationship. For us to interpret and to interact with one another, we need language. And so, let's start this class with a teaser. What is a language? Like I said, language is very important. From a layman perspective, we can say language is the means in which we communicate, is the medium or the instrument of communication. And then for us to interact with one another, like I said the other time, language has to play a vital role. So from your own perspective, or from your own idea, looking at the Nigerian situation, can you say we have a national language? The issue of national language. Nigeria is a country that is blessed, so blessed with a lot of languages. According to some researches, we have over 500 languages in Nigeria. And so as a result, it is not that easy for us to have a national language. And so for us to pick out of these languages, 3 languages came into existence. That is, were chosen 3 languages that cut across the 3 major regions in Nigeria. And what do I mean? From the north, we have Hausa language. From the east, we have Igbo language. And from the west, we have Yoruba language. These languages are recognized as Nigerian major languages, and they are recognized in the Constitution, especially 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. So like I said, language is the expression of idea by means of speech sound. So language is very, very important. It is essential, and it is an instrument that we need to equip ourselves with in order to interact, in order to be functional in the society. So if you look at this pyramid, though you could see at the bottom it talks about English, that is not the essence of this pyramid. The essence of it is to let us have an idea of the language structure in Nigeria. You can see at the peak we have Hausa language, we have Igbo language, we have Yoruba language. Like I said, ignore the English aspect of it. I am just using this as an illustration to tell us that the 3 languages are at the peak of the language pyramid that we have. We could see at the second section we have Ibira, Igara, Egba, Efik, Ibibio. Out of this also we have some of them being studied to the university level, like the Ibibio, Ishekiri, and so and Efik. They have been studied at the university. I could remember sometimes last year, a professor in the East had her inaugural lecture, and she is a prof in Igbo language. That is to tell us that the curriculum of the first 3 languages we have at the peak of the pyramid are very developed to the extent that they can be studied to university level. So why the choice of the 3 languages? Why taking the 3 languages while we have over 500 languages? We are still going to that, but let us start by looking at the use of the 3 languages. The use, what are their use? How important or relevant are they? We use them to conduct debate in the various local governments, which is various assembly and local government councils. We use them, which is backed by the law. I think once in a week, the language of the immediate environment must be used to conduct debates in the House of Assembly at state level and local government council. We use them to keep records. We use them in state-owned media houses. We have media houses in states relating news to their people in the language of immediate environment. Like in Oyo State, we have um, Radio OYO, and in that we have people listening to news being read in Yoruba language. So we have newspapers also being printed using any of the three major languages. Then we keep official records at the school system. These languages are being used. You know, the national policy on education stated that from primary 1 to 3, students should be taught, pupils should be taught using the language of immediate environment, which means that if you are from the north, it's expected that from primary 1 to 3, Hausa language will be used in the teaching of all other subjects except English itself. The same thing applies to the east. Igbo is being used, and in the west, Yoruba language. So while recognizing these languages, why are they important? Why these three? I said they are important in the sense that it represents the three major languages represented their people. That is Hausa from the north, Igbo from the east, and Yoruba from the west. In doing that, these languages, they are attempting to wrestle political power from the colonial masters. You know, when we were going for our independence, people came together from the north, from the west, from the east to seek for independence. And when we got the independence, we have to come together as one. And for us to come together as one, since we do not have one single language that unites us together, we have to pick those ones that are very germane, that cut across the three regions that we have in Nigeria. And that is why Hausa is being chosen, because it's commonly acceptable and it covers a wider geographical location in the north. The same thing applies to Igbo in the in the east, and then Yoruba in the west. Another point, while these three major languages are recognized, is that it ensures that the three languages are given equal recognition, so that one region will not be threatened at the expense of other regions, so that each region is being recognized and each region is being given adequate priority. And so none of the region is being subjected or being neglected. So it gives us the equal right to see that we all own Nigeria and Nigeria belongs to all of us. So let us now look at the pedagogical status of Hausa, Igbo language, and Yoruba language. The major languages have attracted the attention of governments, and they enjoy some of these privileges. One, they attract official attention of government. Government takes care of these three languages. How? What do I mean? There is a language school in Abia where development and improvement on all these three major languages have been taken care of. So that is receiving government attention. Apart from that, these three major languages have official orthography. If you want to study Igbo and graduate to PhD level, we have orthography, we have everything it takes to have it. And so they have the same thing applies to the two other languages. So they have official orthography. Then they have a national curriculum description. Like I said, they have curriculum from primary school to secondary school to university level to, like the other time, you know, I said last year a prof in the East had an inaugural lecture in Igbo language. So she specializes in Igbo language. So it has a national curriculum description, which makes the language to be recognized. Apart from this, there are textbooks published in these languages to enhance their learning by both indigenous and non-indigenous. We have foreigners even coming to us to study Yoruba, to study Igbo language, to study Hausa language. Is because we have curriculum for these languages, we have textbooks, they are so developed to the extent that the same way we studied English, these three major languages also can be studied. Then they have literatures, they have literary books that through them you can get clips of our culture, of who we are and how we live our lives. So then apart from that, educationally, they have become languages of literacy. When you see people talking in Yoruba, you know that that person is literate in Yoruba language. So within Nigeria also, they have trained they have attained, within Nigeria, these three major languages have attained second language status. For example, if I am from the West, and according to the curriculum, we state that I must equip myself with a language, with an indigenous language apart from my mother tongue. So it means that apart from Yoruba language that I have acquired, I can learn Hausa as a second language. So the same way we learn English as a second language, Hausa also can be learned as a second language for a Yoruba child, or Igbo language can be learned as a second language for a Yoruba child. So let's now look at second language teaching. What is second language teaching? Second language teaching, like I just finished explaining, is that even in Nigeria, second language teaching, within Nigerian languages, second language teaching can take place. I am from the West. If I decided to learn Igbo language, then it means I have to learn the language because I have already acquired the mother tongue, which is Yoruba language. So second language teaching is common across the world, and it is the second when you are teaching language that is different from the first language of the child to the child, then what you are doing is teaching the child a second language. Then let us look at so it means that a Nigerian child is equipped with is a multilingualist. A Nigerian child is a multilingualist in the sense that he has acquired the mother tongue. He has to learn one from the remaining two languages. Then he has to learn English language. And so teaching and learning of a second language becomes so paramount and very, very important. And as a language teacher, you have to know the nitty-gritty that is attached to teaching language in a second language situation, because there are a lot of things that is attached to this. So the official national language in Nigeria is English language. So like I said, we learn English language the same way we learn, if you are from the West, you learn Yoruba language. So a native language, English, plays three major roles. It's an official language in Nigeria. It's the second language to all, to us, and it's also a native language to some. Then in teaching a second language as a teacher, because this course is meant for those who are already specialized in language area, but who do not have teaching prerequisites, who do not specialize in teaching. So we want to equip you so that when you get to the class, you will know all those things you need to equip yourself with as a teacher. So what are the academic preparation that you as a teacher need to have for teaching a second language? As a teacher, the fact that you are a native speaker doesn't mean you have been trained to teach that language. No. The fact that I speak Igbo doesn't mean I will just get to class and start teaching. No. You have to equip yourself. There are some formal academic training that you need to equip yourself with, and these include the phonetics and phonology of that language. You need to equip yourself with the phonetics and phonology, and that is why we need to train teachers. Even if you are a Yoruba man, a Yoruba woman, and you are teaching Yoruba, the fact that Yoruba is your language is not enough for you to stand in front of the class and start teaching Yoruba. No, you have to equip yourself with adequate training. You have to equip yourself with pedagogy that will make you function in putting across the nitty-gritty of learning the second language into use. So I said you need to equip yourself with phonetics and phonology of the language. The communication skill also has to be taken care of. That is, you have to train yourself in the communication skill. You have to know the morphology of the language, the syntax of the language, the lexis and structure, the vocabulary and meaning, the working knowledge of culture, because language and culture are the same. You cannot separate culture from language. As you learn the culture, you learn the language. As you learn the language, you learn the culture. So the two are intertwined. Then literature and literary study is very, very important. As a teacher, you keep yourself with literature and literary studies of the language. And if you see at the lower level of education at primary school and at junior secondary school, literature and English language are together. The same thing with other languages. Then you have to keep yourself with language use, the semantics of the language, the structure of the language. Then you have to know language pedagogy and practicum. All these are the areas you need to expose yourself to, so that you will be well equipped to be a qualified teacher and a certified teacher. So let's start by looking at psycholinguistics. What do we mean by psycholinguistics? It's a marriage between psychology and language. It is the scientific study of language from psychology perspective. So psycholinguistics is meant to assist in the understanding of cognitive process in language learning and language acquisition. When we talk of language learning and language acquisition, it is social linguistics that deals with these aspects. And what do we mean by learning and acquisition? Learning is when you are exposed to in a formal setting, just the same way we learn English language in secondary school. It has curriculum, it has a teacher, there is a classroom setting, there is a structure, there is curriculum, there is syllabus, it has everything in step-by-step procedure, there is behavioral objective to be achieved at the end of the lesson, at the end of the term there is test. So that is language learning. All these are features that are attached to language learning. But when it comes to language acquisition, that is acquiring the language naturally. For example, when a child is being given birth to in Kano, the language of immediate environment is Hausa. And so naturally, the child will acquire the language as it relates to people within the immediate family, within the extended family, in the street, in the market, and gradually you will just see that by age 6, the child is able to speak Hausa, sentences in Hausa, and we believe that by age 6, a child is enough. A child will have developed adequately those things he needed as regards language and how to make use of language. So language learning is when you learn a language in a formal setting, when acquisition is naturally within the environment which the child finds himself. So psycholinguistics, like I said, learns psychological principles of language development with linguistics to give a robust understanding of relationship between the following: between developmental psychology, between developmental linguistics, between physical growth and development, and between language development. So it is the work of psycholinguistics that, like the example of that, the age of 6, the child will have developed all he needed in that language. That is what all these things are embedded in psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics will tell us when the child is the age at which the child will first say the first letter was, second letter was, the developmental psycholinguistics, that is at this particular age, this child should be able to do this as it relates to language. At this particular age, this child should be able to do this as it relates to language. The same thing with physical growth, that at age 6, the child will have been physically mature and then developmental ready, and it will have been exposed to language that it will need. It will have developed enough language system that it will need to exist within the society. The same thing with language development. So psycholinguistics blends psychological principle and then language development together. All these are what you are going to enjoy in this course. So having said that, let's also go to another one, which is sociolinguistics, sociology, and science and language. Sociolinguistics, just like the psycholinguistics is married between psychology and language and the study of language. Sociolinguistics is the marriage between sociology and the study of language, which is linguistics. So we have sociolinguistics. So sociolinguistics exposes the relevant socio-cultural practices of the language. Like I said the other time, you cannot separate language from culture. Both of them are together. So when you learn the language, you learn the culture. When you learn the culture, you learn the language. So sociolinguistics talks about socio-cultural practices of the language. It talks about language use in the environment, language use as in the day-to-day activities, language used to express culture, to express music, to express art, language as it reflects in clothing, in food, and general ways of life. That is social linguistics aspect of the language, which you are going to deal more as the course progresses. So let's look at this image just for us to have an idea of what um, language, how related are this all these things together. You know, we have applied linguistics. It is under applied linguistics that we talk about a branch of applied linguistics is social linguistics. It's also um, a branch is that of psycholinguistics, and we have education which relates to teaching, learning, and acquisition, as well as assessment. Then we have linguistics, which is the scientific study of language. Then we have anthropology, which is scientific study of origin and behavior of man, which includes his physical, his social, and his cultural development. So let's now look at applied linguistics as we have it in the course. So under applied linguistics, like I have shown us in that image, where we talk about applied linguistics in education, in that is branches of applied linguistics include education, sociology, psychology, and the blend between sociology and linguistics, where we have social linguistics, the blend between psychology and linguistics, where we have psycholinguistics. So under applied linguistics, we talk of transfer, we talk of interference, we talk of contrastive analysis, error analysis, pragmatics and discourse, educational courses and practicum. So let's look at interference. It is generally believed that when two languages come together in the course of learning the second language, there is bound to be interference. There is bound to be a transfer of knowledge of what you have in the first language to learn the second language, and when that happens, interference occur. So interference will refer to a situation where what is known, that is the mother tongue, prevents you from acquiring similar thing in the second language, and it is usually a natural phenomenon when you are learning a second language. Looking at this picture, you will see first language versus second language. First language interference or intrusion is an unconscious process. It is unconsciously done. So at psycholinguistics level, interference, transfer, they are bound to occur. And so transfer produces interference, and interference results into errors. So you can look at this image, language transfer. So you can see when you learn, when you have already have the mother tongue, you want to learn the second language, there is bound for the first language to prevent you from acquiring certain things in the new language, especially when you apply the rule directly to the second language you are learning. Let us look at this image. You can see transfer. Transfer could be positive or negative. Then when it is positive, it will aid learning of the second language. But when it is negative, it will hinder it. And under negativity, it could be two, it could be overgeneralization. When you assume that the same way it is in the first language, the same is going to be in the second language. And so there's bound to be error. And as a result, interference will occur. So then we have contrastive analysis, which evolved from the concept that when two languages are in contact together, there is bound to be mutual transfer, which will result into errors. And so under contrastive analysis, we shed more light on transfer and how it happened. Then we have error analysis. Error analysis involves studying the error of your students in order to put remedy into what you are teaching them, in order to remediate them so that the error will be minimized. So the approach of error analysis involves collecting body of errors, constructing them, reflecting the student's intended usage, helping them to overcome the error so that they will be able to get the nitty-gritty of the second language they are learning. So error analysis indicate the degree of difficulty, and error analysis help not to overgeneralize that because it is past tense is formed in this particular sentence in my first language using this particular structure, and so in the second language I'm acquiring it should also be the same. No. So looking at this table, we have the error analysis. That is the general name, and under it we have two categories: the contractive analysis and the error analysis. The contractive analysis look at pedagogical orientation, while error analysis look at error from scientific orientation. Contractive analysis focus on input practice and inductive learning, while error analysis focus on linguistics and cognitive process. Then error analysis, contrastive analysis focus on error of transfer, while error analysis focus on multiple types of error. That is, they don't hypothesize error like contrastive analysis. They look at errors from diverse ways. And so from there, we are going to stop for today. So we are going to meet in our next lesson and we'll continue from there. And so on this note, I'm saying aya, I'm saying eshe, I'm saying daalu, I'm saying goodbye. Thank you. God bless.